Two women, both 62, both just retired with $500,000 in savings, almost to the dollar. Same nest egg, same age, same zip code. And yet 10 years later, one of them is traveling twice a year and sleeping just fine at night, and the other is back behind the cash register at 71 because the money simply ran out faster than she ever imagined it could. Same number, opposite endings, and friend, that number, $500,000, is the one so many of you have been chasing for years, thinking once I hit it, I'm free. But here's the uncomfortable truth we need to sit with today. $500,000 sounds like a fortune, and for some people, it absolutely is enough. But for a whole lot of others, it is a trap, a number that looks safe on paper and quietly falls apart in real life. And today, I'm going to show you exactly why that happens, and more importantly, exactly how you make sure it does not happen to you. Now, before we go one step further, I want you to hear me say this clearly. Having $500,000 saved puts you ahead of the vast majority of this country. According to the Federal Reserve's own numbers, most households approaching retirement have nowhere close to that. So if that is where you stand, you have done something right. This is not a video about shame. This is a video about the gap between a big number and a real plan, because that gap is exactly where people get hurt. So let's do the honest math right up front. The math most channels rush past. There's a well-known guideline called the 4% rule. It says in your first year of retirement, you can safely withdraw about 4% of your savings. 4% of $500,000 is $20,000 a year. That's about $1,667 a month. Now, for some of you, paired with a paid-off house and Social Security on top, that is a perfectly livable plan. But here is where the trap springs shut on other folks. $1,667 a month feels like plenty when you say it fast. It does not feel like plenty once you add up a mortgage payment, a car note, healthcare premiums before Medicare kicks in, and the fact that inflation does not take a year off just because you retired. And that, friend, is the $500,000 trap in a single sentence. It is a number that is enough for the retirement you're imagining and not enough for the retirement you're actually about to live. Financial planners have a name for the stretch of time where this gets decided. They call it the retirement red zone, the 5 years before you stop working and the 5 years after. And here's the thing about the red zone. This is the one window where your decisions get magnified. Get them right, and $500,000 stretches into a genuinely comfortable 30 years. Get them wrong, and there is no time left to recover the way you could back in your 40s. So before we touch a single strategy, I want you to sit with 3 uncomfortable questions, because these scenarios happen more than anyone admits. Number 1, if your portfolio dropped 20% in your very first year of retirement, do you actually know what you would do? Number 2, have you ever sat down and calculated what happens to your income the year your spouse passes away? And number 3, do you know to the dollar what it truly costs to live your life every month? Not a guess. The real number. If any of those gave you a jolt in your stomach, good. That feeling is telling you exactly why we're doing this today. Instead of the year the paperwork lands on your desk. If you're finding this useful already, go ahead and hit that like button. It genuinely helps this reach more folks sitting right where you are. And if you're new here, subscribe to Michael's Playbook, because I'm about to walk you through exactly why $500,000 can quietly fail and exactly what turns it into a retirement that lasts. Let's start with trap number 1, and it is the biggest one by far. Sequence of returns risk. This is not about your average return over 30 years. It is about what the market does in the first few years after you stop working. Here's why it's so dangerous. When you're still working, a bad market year is almost a non-event. You keep contributing, prices are low, you buy more shares, and you ride it out. But the moment you retire and start pulling money out to live on, everything flips. If the market drops hard in year 1 or 2 of your retirement and you're forced to sell investments to pay your bills, you're locking in that loss permanently. That money does not get the chance to recover, even when the market eventually roars back. 2 retirees with the exact same $500,000 and the exact same average return over their lifetime can end up in completely different places purely because of the order those returns showed up in. One retires into a bull market and thrives. One retires into a crash and never fully recovers. Same money, same luck over 20 years. Opposite outcome because of when the bad year happened. So how do you defend $500,000 against this? You build a cash buffer. But here's the nuance that changes everything. You are not trying to fund your entire lifestyle out of cash. You are funding the gap between your guaranteed income and your actual spending. Say your household spends $4,500 a month, but Social Security covers $3,000 of that. Your portfolio only has to cover $1,500 a month, or $18,000 a year. 2 to 3 years of that gap sitting in a high-yield savings account or money market, not the whole $500,000, just the gap, is is your insurance policy. When the market falls, you spend from that buffer instead of selling stocks at the bottom. That single habit is often the difference between a $500,000 retirement that survives and one that quietly bleeds out. Trap number 2 is one most people never even see coming, and it is the underuse of Social Security. Here's what happens over and over. Someone retires with $500,000, feels nervous about the size of that number, and claims Social Security the very first moment they can at 62 just to have income landing in the account. That single decision locks in a permanent cut of about 30% compared to waiting until full retirement age. And it drags down every future cost of living increase too. But if you wait, your benefit grows by roughly 8% a year for every year you hold off, all the way to 70. There is no investment on earth, no stock, no bond, no annuity that guarantees an 8% raise every single year with zero risk. The government is offering it to you for free, and the number one reason people walk right past it is fear. They're worried the money running the household right now has to come from somewhere, so they grab the smaller check early out of pure necessity. This is exactly where your $500,000 does its most important job, not as your retirement, but as your bridge. You use a portion of that savings to cover your living expenses for 2 or 3 years while you delay Social Security, and in exchange, you lock in a permanently larger check for the rest of your life, one that also becomes the larger surviving spouse's benefit down the road. That's not spending your $500,000, that's converting it into a permanent raise on the one income source you can never outlive. And for a married couple, this decision should never be made person by person. It should be made as a household. Often the smart move is for the lower earner to claim earlier while the higher earner delays as long as possible, because whichever spouse survives, the other will keep only the larger of the two checks. A couple that plans only for the years they're both alive can leave the survivor in real trouble. That's called the widow's penalty. When one spouse passes, the survivor loses the smaller check and the very next year files taxes as a single person instead of married, which can shove more of the same income into a higher bracket. Same house, similar bills, suddenly a smaller after-tax check. This is not a fun conversation to have, but it is a loving one, and it needs to happen before it happens to you. Now, before we go further, let me ask you honestly, do you actually know what it costs to be you for a month? Not a guess. The real number, because everything I've told you so far, whether $500,000 is more than enough or dangerously tight, comes down entirely to that figure. This is exactly why I built the Retirement Budget Calculator. It's the free tool linked right in the description below. It walks you through your real monthly expenses, category by category, separates your must-haves from your nice-to-haves, and hands you your true number in about 15 minutes. If you do nothing else after watching this video, go fill that out. Trap number 3 is the one that quietly punishes people who think they've done everything right, and that's taxes. Here's the twist. Most people never see. Two households can both have $500,000 and live completely different retirements depending on where that money lives. If most of yours sits in a traditional 401k or IRA, every single dollar you withdraw is taxed as ordinary income. Uncle Sam is a silent partner in that account, which means your $500,000 is really worth less than $500,000 to you. And here's the gut punch. A lot of diligent savers hit around age 73 or 75 if you were born in 1960 or later. That's when required minimum distributions kick in, forcing you to pull money out whether you need it or not, and stacking right on top of your Social Security, potentially shoving you into a higher tax bracket than you were ever in while working. This is why the years right before RMDs start are prime time to look at Roth conversions. There is often a valley of low income after you retire, but before Social Security and RMDs switch on. That valley can be the best window of your life to move money from traditional to Roth, paying tax now at a known, often lower rate, and never paying tax on that money again. This is not right for everyone, and this is education, not personalized tax advice. So please run your own numbers with a professional, but modeling it during this window can be worth tens of thousands of dollars over your retirement. And if you're retiring before 65, there's a landmine sitting right in front of you. If you're buying health insurance through the ACA marketplace, your premium subsidy depends on your income. The enhanced subsidies that were in place through 2025 have expired, and the old subsidy cliff is back. That means if your income creeps even a dollar over the threshold, roughly 400% of the federal poverty line, you can lose your subsidy entirely, and that can mean thousands of dollars out of pocket in a single year. A poorly timed Roth conversion or an oversized withdrawal in the wrong year can trigger that cliff without you ever seeing it coming. One practical bridge many people overlook: when you leave your job, you can often stay on your employer's plan through COBRA for up to 18 months. It is not the cheapest option, but it buys you time to sort out your withdrawal strategy before committing to a marketplace plan and its cliffs. Trap number 4 is the one nobody wants to think about, and it is long-term care. According to research, about 70% of people who reach age 65 will need some form of long-term care in their lives. That is not a rare event. That is a coin flip you are likely to lose. And here's why it hits a $500,000 retirement especially hard. A single extended stay in a care facility can run tens of thousands of dollars a year, and it can drain a nest egg that was otherwise perfectly sized for a normal retirement in just a few years. You have options here: a hybrid life and long-term care policy, a traditional long-term care policy, or a deliberate decision to self-insure. But it has to be a decision made on purpose, with your eyes open. Most people just drift on this one, and drifting is what turns a well-planned $500,000 into a family crisis. So let's bring this home, because I know that's a lot to carry, and you deserve one clear thought to walk away with. $500,000 is not automatically a trap, and it is not automatically enough. It becomes a trap when it's asked to do a job alone that it was never built to do. Cover every dollar of spending, absorb a market crash in year 1, survive an early Social Security claim, and pay for a long-term care event, all without a plan holding it together. But $500,000 used wisely as a bridge to a bigger Social Security check, backed by a cash buffer so you never sell in a panic, positioned across the right accounts to keep your taxes low, and paired with an honest, deliberate decision about long-term care. That is not a trap at all. That is a real, resilient retirement, and it is one that ordinary people are living successfully right now with the exact same number you have. This video is for education only, not personalized financial, tax, or legal advice. So please sit down with a qualified professional before you make any big moves with your own money. But here's what I want you to do this week. Go fill out that retirement budget calculator in the description and get your real number. Then go pull up your Social Security estimates at 62 at full retirement age and at 70 and see the actual dollars for yourself. 2 steps, real numbers, no more guessing. If this helped you see your $500,000 differently today, do me a kindness and hit that like button. Subscribe to Michael's Playbook so I can keep walking this road with you, and share this with someone you love who is standing right at the same number, wondering if it's enough. Because that's how a good retirement really comes together, friend. Not all at once. One smart decision at a time. I'll see you in the next one.